to you, Madonna. Did you have a nice Christmas?
I had a fabulous Christmas.
Oh, that's good. So did I.
Yeah, and my first grandbaby was born 2 days ago, so I'm very, very happy.
Oh,
Little Teddy.
Congratulations.
Yeah, little 5-pounder.
Wow.
Poor little darling. Sarah and Blaze are doing well.
Oh, and all good, yeah.
All good, all good.
Well, that's good. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah.
And I bet you are too, and I bet Mum and Dad are happy.
Oh, they're pretty ecstatic.
Oh,
yeah.
geez, yeah. Well, Bay Health. Now, should we, because a few people sort of go off track with Christmas and New Year coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some days I think, what day is it? Because you don't know, is it a holiday? Is it...
Exactly.
So maybe we should run through a couple of things that people can do if you've got a bit of time. Just make sure you make some time, and you can feel a lot better. Now, one of them is just the purified water.
Oh, good old water. How important is it?
It is.
And in this heat and everything, people forget about water, and people are on so many medications and things these days. People are eating more sugar, drinking more alcohol. All of these things dehydrate us.
Oh.
It's probably not a bad idea to chat to your doctor or your naturopath occasionally about the different drugs you take, just to make sure you know about the side effects.
Right.
But dehydration is a major side effect, particularly with things like beta blockers.
Beta blockers?
Beta blockers.
Oh.
So beta blockers for blood pressure.
Right, yeah.
So basically one of the ways they work is by making your kidneys release the fluid from your body, which of course, if you're not drinking enough water to replace it, you can become quite chronically dehydrated.
Now, is it true that many of the aches, the pains, the headaches, all those things, the usual symptoms, now that could be caused, and you could fix it up a little bit if you drank more water.
Oh, dehydration plays such an important role in just about everything. They actually did one really bizarre little study in a old people's home in America, where all they did was made sure that all of the residents had 2 litres of purified water a day. Yep. Nothing else.
Nothing else.
And nothing, no other change.
What?
And
no mangoes.
No. They just made the only thing in the study that they changed out of these people's lives was that they had 2 litres of water a day. And across the board, people's brains worked better, people's moods improved, people had better mobility. It was just one of those bizarre little studies that just showed how important water is. That there's some... And I know that a lot of people are on medications where their doctors are very fearful about their water intake. So I'm not talking about people who have been told not to have too much water. Yeah. I'm talking about people who probably aren't even thinking about their water intake.
Yeah, that's
or
right.
Really, they sort of have their... My mum's a shocker. My mum, and I've said this before, she'll have 14 cups of coffee a day. But she does make sure that every time she has a cup of coffee, she has a glass of water as well.
Now, is it real, if you have, say, 14 cups of coffee a day... that's not like taking water.
No, it's not. No,
because it's got the coffee in. So
that's
yes,
right.
You're having water, but it's not beneficial.
Yes, and caffeine is a diuretic, so it actually makes you pee more.
Oh, there you
so
go.
Therefore it adds to the dehydration.
Right.
Yeah. But I suppose if people are, like, if you consider the worst case scenario, if they're drinking coffee instead of, say, Scotch and Coke, it's probably a better choice.
Oh, well,
or is it, you're saying?
Well, if you line them up in front of me, I'll say, I'll have that one that's got the ice in it, please.
Whatever's in there. But anyway, water, that's a nice easy one.
Yeah.
So it improves the brain, it improves the moods, it improves the liver and kidney function and that sort of thing. It helps you to dilute the toxin. So one of the things that like just thinking about aches and pains and joints and that sort of thing, if you don't drink enough water, the toxins build up faster.
Right.
So the more the toxins build up in your muscles and your nerves and your joints, the more pain you're going to have. So people with, say, uric acid build up or... what is it?
Uric
gout.
Acid.
Good old gout.
Good old gout.
Yeah, good old gout. That's a build up of uric acid in the body. What neutralises acid? Water. So people who get uric acid quite often are not taking enough water in their diet.
Okay.
Or enough green leafies and that sort of thing as well.
Now, there's a couple of people have said to me, because it's over this festive season, because you do get a bit muddled because you don't know what's going on with so many happenings at this time of year. Now, what about, there's a lot of people tired. And they may well think, I think I've just been over the top too much. Yeah. And been playing up a little bit too much. But maybe not so much that. There's a couple of other things that can involve.
There is.
That cause you to be tired.
Yeah. So one of them is, firstly, if you're dehydrated, you're not getting enough oxygen in. So that's nice and simple. Increase your oxygen. I think another thing for people who are exhausted, paying attention to the water you're having in, because if you're drinking normal water, it has chlorine and fluoride in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, regardless of what people think about them, what they can do is bind to the thyroid and make your thyroid hormones unavailable, because thyroxine looks the same as chlorine and fluoride do to the thyroid. So therefore, your body can actually be inhibited from making your thyroid hormone, so therefore it can slow down your metabolism.
So all these little things that we aren't aware of.
So that's one of the reasons for doing your, making sure you're drinking purified water. Get those, if you're drinking it. Now, once again, if you're having it in your shower and your baths and that sort of thing, that's a whole other thing. Or if it's in your pool, that's a whole other thing. I'm just thinking what we're trying to do to get our body working better. But also, one of the things with energy is quite often we don't have enough magnesium. And green leafy veggies are really important for getting your magnesium in. Magnesium is just one of these things. It's on just about I see the ads where they're talking about magnesium on TV, but it's in green leafy veggies, your dark green leafies, the chlorophyll, which you would have heard of. Remember grade 10 science, good old chlorophyll?
No, I don't remember it at all.
Okay, so it's your spinaches, it's your salads, it's your things with that dark green. That's got chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is built on a magnesium molecule. So basically, if you get in your dark green leafies, you're getting in magnesiums. The other things that are higher in magnesium are things like your red meats, so good quality red meats, and your nuts and seeds, and that sort of thing are quite high in magnesium. Eggs are great for magnesium as well.
They're always good.
Always organic or free range. Yep, just saying.
And what else should we be doing, over this period? Because a lot of people have got just that little bit extra time with a holiday off here or whatever. What about going for a walk every day?
Oh, man, absolutely. Got to keep the exercise up, because once again, thinking about aches and pains in your body, half of that's stagnation. So if you are sitting all the time, sitting is inflammatory. It's sort of like the new smoking. So sitting is inflammatory. We've got to move. And even if you can't walk because of your joints, then do something else. Do aqua aerobics. Get into the pool. Sort of find a way. Like, that's what I love down at Wynnum, the wading pool. How cool is that? Anyone can hop in that half the year. Have you been to the wading pool? It's cool.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's really quite fabulous.
I'll have to put my clothing on.
Well, it's only mid-thigh, but nonetheless, it's a good level. So people who sort of have issues with their joints, getting into a pool and walking around and doing aqua aerobics, that sort of thing. There's always other ways to doing it. It's just thinking about doing it. But we've got to keep moving. Keep moving.
It's not just thinking about it. It's saying, I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it. And when someone says, let's go for a walk, saying, okay.
Okay. Now, what would you say would be the minimum walk if you go for a walk somewhere?
Oh, half an hour.
Half an hour?
Yeah, I think half an hour is good, because it takes a good 12 to 15 minutes just to increase your heart rate.
Right.
And one of the reasons we do aerobic exercise is for the heart rate. Right. So we've got to get that heart moving and pumping in order to get the aerobic benefit from the body. But the other thing is, and I think we've mentioned this before, there was a study done with dementia clients where all they did was half hour of walking a day for 12 months, and it increased the size of their memory centres in the brain. So walking is important. And we're not talking people with good health. We're talking people who, critically ill people who just did a half hour walk a day, and it still improved the size of their memory centres in the brain.
Now, what about if you're sweeping the floor, or vacuuming, or just walking from this room to that room?
All of that helps.
Think, well, I get on my exercise.
Does it get you puffing? I think that's the thing. If you're doing it, for 30 seconds, and then all of it adds up, absolutely. And I think they did a study on people who are anxious, so people who can't sit down and relax. And once again, they found that those people burn a lot more calories in the day, which means they're burning more energy. So definitely doing all that sort of thing is important, but it's still different from doing a dedicated half-hour walk.
Right. So you actually do need to do the walk, and don't count how many times you've gone from this room back to that room or whatever, because they're very small amounts.
They are very small amounts. Aerobic activity needs to be a minimum of 12 minutes just to get the heart pumping.
Right.
Now, I'm not talking. Now, that doesn't mean that if you walk up 13 steps and then your heart's pumping at the top, it's not doing you any good. Of course, that's doing you good, but it's not sustained. We sort of need to sustain that energy moving through the heart and the circulation system to get the benefit, because then the blood starts pumping through all the muscles. And when we've got achy muscles and achy joints, you need better blood supply. You need more oxygen. You need more fluid and hydration and everything going through them. So that takes time to get it through the system.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what else should we generally be doing now if we want to prepare our body ready for a brand new year, 2018, you want to be able to fly off right from day one and feel good. So what are a couple of the other things that we might like to do to start the new year?
Yeah, so thinking fruits and veggies. You know, it's funny how often people say to us in the clinic that they can't afford to eat well, that it's cheaper to eat, takeaway food.
Yes.
Do you believe that?
No, it's easier.
Yeah, I sort of find it interesting that that's often a philosophy that people do, because if I go to the markets, I don't find that they're expensive. By the time you get, some lettuces and some rocket and some spinach and some radishes and, and all freshly farmed, what are you paying? Maybe $20 for a whole box full of stuff.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't cost a huge amount. No. And then how many meals is that?
And I'm happy you didn't mention kale.
Kale, I've failed with kale at this stage. I just haven't found a way to have it myself. I'm going to need to.
No.
I'm going to need to learn a way to do it that's quite delicious, but I haven't got there yet. I'm sure people love them, and I've got lots of my clients who are having kale in their green juices for brekkie. But so basically making sure you're having those salads and veggies, and as wide a variety of colours as you can. So a lot of the research going on at the moment about anti-cancer stuff, they're looking at phytonutrients. So the phytonutrients and phytochemicals in foods, a lot of the anti-cancer stuff is from the colours in our foods. So if you imagine you're having, say, a fruit salad with things like cranberries and sultanas and all the beautiful brightly coloured stuff, that's the sort of thing that is adding to our health. So they're finding that lots of these different things switch on our health genes and our longevity genes. So when we don't have these things in our diet for days, months, years on end, because we've gone into really simplistic things like like how many people just have cereal and milk for brekkie, or they have a sandwich for lunch, or they have even meat and 3 veg for dinner. What's missing? If they think about the colours of the rainbow, there's a lot of colours missing, when they're thinking about the types of fruit and veggies that are out there and what they could potentially be having. And I know people get stuck in a rut with food, so that's why you've got to just start experimenting. Every week just think, okay, this week I'm going to add one meal in. And I've got a Thermomix. I love my Thermomix. I know everyone can't afford a Thermomix, but
that's a plug.
Well, they're $2,000, so they're not cheap, but there are things. But since then, I reckon I have cooked more. I've cooked more stews. I've absolutely done better meals because it's so much easier to make, say, flour out of nuts and seeds and things like that, and then I've got a high protein flour that I can use in a base, or making things like protein balls. It's just easier. I'm sure a high-priced blender would do the same thing.
Well,
my blenders used to get jammed. Anyway, so I do, but I think experimenting, I think finding recipes, going out and seeing food that you love and then working out how to do it at home. Right. It doesn't take much to make a beautiful salad. People say, well, I get bored with it. And I think, well, you're making the wrong salads.
I love salad.
Because how easy is it to do salad with some roasted beetroot and some feta cheese and some walnuts and... it's not that hard.
No, it's
to
not.
Make it delicious.
It's lovely. It really is fresh, and you taste it.
Yeah.
You can taste the freshness.
Yeah, and I often add I love a little bit of sweet. I don't put a lot in, but I'll add, say, a tablespoon of currants, to a salad, or some, something like that, just to add that little bit of sweetness in there as well. And, it's not hard to make up your own salad dressings, with things like balsamic vinegar and olive oil and lemon juice or lime juice, or it doesn't take, or mustard, adding that in for a bit of spice, mixing it all together.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that on MasterChef one night. One of the guys just had some jar with a lid and he said, this is the best mayonnaise maker in the world. And he just whacked in all the ingredients, shook it up, whacked it over the salad. Yum.
That's it.
Yeah, so I must admit, I think that's what people are doing wrong. They're thinking, no. Maybe not every, I think that's what some people are doing wrong when they're saying it's boring.
Yeah.
They're not thinking outside the box. They're not thinking, how can I make this a delicious meal?
And you can be very, very creative
Yes.
with your salads, can't you? When
Yeah.
you put them together.
Yeah, that's right.
The whole combination of colour and you just know it's
Yeah.
good for you. And
And
it tastes great.
I often add a mango in summer to my salads,
Yes.
and that's just, it's just sublime. It's
Or even
yum.
mango for breakfast.
Yeah. But imagine in amongst a, big green leafy salad and all sorts of stuff. It's amazing. It just seems to be a bit of a binder that makes everything delicious.
Now, I was wondering, because when you walked into the studio this morning, you said, would you like a hug, Paul?
Aha!
And I said, oh, yes, Paul. But apparently that is very healthy for you too. So I thought, why don't we have a little break?
Yes.
And then we'll come back and talk about the hugging.
Sounds good.
And meanwhile, we'll just practice it up a little bit, all right? Yeah. Oh, no, that didn't look good, did it? We'll be back shortly here at 100.3 Bay FM. Health, that's what we've got.